Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're giving advice to our younger selves. What do we know now that we wish we would have known then? Join us as we share wisdom that we hope to pass on to the next generation. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're going to talk about advice you'd give to your younger self. And we're using a post by Sahil Bloom that went viral a few weeks ago. And in the post, Sahil interviewed people in their 90s and compiled a list of advice they would give someone in their 30s. And I originally saw this as a suggested post on Instagram, and then I started Googling, and I saw that several articles have been written about it. And the New York Post picked it up on January 12th of this year, and they said, a New York entrepreneur and content creator went viral when he revealed the 40 pieces of advice he received from 90-year-olds ahead of his 32nd birthday. And he shared this advice on his Twitter thread with his 834,000 followers, which that's a lot. But I guess that he ended up getting 19.5 million views just on that one tweet. And then, of course, I saw it on Instagram. I'm sure other people have seen it on Facebook. Obviously, media articles have been written. So it really, and I think the reason it went viral is because we do all like to hear advice that more experienced people would give us.
Yes.
Yeah. Somebody that's just ahead of us. Well, hopefully that 92, hopefully that's a long way ahead of us.
A long way ahead of us.
Yeah, but we want to hear the wisdom of the 90-year-old. And so this guy had 40 pieces of advice that he compiled. And I thought they were really interesting. I sent them to Julie and Mindy and said, hey, do you think there could be an episode out of this? What did you think when you read it, Mindy?
Oh, man, I think if only we could live with the perspective that they give us, you know, like, yes, these are like gems, you know, these pockets of wisdom that unfortunately you have to learn the hard way sometimes to really be able to fully accept.
Yes.
That's so true.
Well, I definitely think that listeners are going to enjoy hearing us go through these today. I mean, not every single one of them is going to be applicable to every single person, but I thought there were a lot of great advice here. Julie, what was one that stuck out to you?
Well, the very first one stuck out to me, and it says, now and then break out the fine china or your best whatever for no reason at all. And, you know, I think this applies to more than just China. Some people don't have China or care about China, but to me, it meant not living like with a scarcity mentality. You know, use things up. Don't always be saving them for a better time or a different time. Or, you know, it could be your nice dishes. It could be clothing. We've talked about that before. Like, don't hold on to it. Just wear it. And if it gets stained or worn out, it's probably going to be out of style soon anyway.
Right.
You know, I even thought, you know, the two of us living here, we still use the dishwasher. We run it every day. I don't even know how that happens. And there are days when I say, you know what, we're just going to use paper plates and paper cups. And I thought, no, my husband did not work hard for 35 years for us to eat on paper plates and paper cups.
Right.
Like, we're going to use the nice stuff. And I've told you before, I use cloth napkins now. Like, I've got the time. I'm going to enjoy those things.
Yes. No, I think that's great. And I need to remind myself of this. I mean, I think we all know if we live with a scarcity mentality or if we have a hard time using things up. And I do have a hard time. So I constantly need to check myself with like, okay, you know, it's okay to use that. And if it gets used up, you can buy more.
Right. Yeah, we've determined, I try to get by with plastic plates. And when we cook really good food, I've mentioned that before, Bryce is grilling a lot more. And I have to tell myself, like, the nice plates run through the dishwasher just as easy as the plastic plates. Like, it's just a different cabinet. Yeah. And so we try to have nice dishes when we make good food. So they're coming out more and more. And it's fun.
It is.
Well, number 2 was dance at weddings until your feet are sore. And I don't get a lot of opportunity to dance at weddings, but I really think that this is more about the fear of embarrassment. Like, don't be so afraid to have fun, you know, because you might be embarrassed. And I think that coming out of midlife when we've been living with teenagers, you can really have a complex about doing embarrassing things because your kids are always like, don't embarrass me. And so we tamp down a lot. I mean, I've had teenagers in my house for, a long, long time. I sometimes don't even remember what it was like to have fun because for years they've been telling me, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like when the kids were little, we used to dance in the kitchen almost every night. Like they were preschoolers. They'd get out their little Fisher-Price maracas and drum and we'd turn on music. I mean, all that stuff goes away as soon as you get a preteen who starts giving you the side eye. So in midlife, you kind of have to relearn how to have fun.
Yes. Well, haven't you guys noticed when you go to a wedding or a nice event, I'll put nice events in here as well, that you tend to see older couples that could care less about the world that are up dancing and like everybody else is embarrassed. And it's like, okay, they've got the lease on life. They really could care less. But I will say this is one of our family's favorite memories. And it happened 2 summers ago. And it's imprinted on Bryce and mine, Jacob and Nathan's minds. We had just gone through Abby's wedding. We'd moved to our new home in Georgia. And a week later, we had a wedding in Kansas. So we were all exhausted. Like we had been through a lot of fun and hard things. So at this wedding in Kansas, it's all of our family and it's in this huge barn. They're playing great music. We dance with abandon. Like we have never danced like this. I mean, until like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., the 4 of us. And the boys were even like, wow, Mom, show me how to do that. I mean, I'm pulling out all the moves. and it is just, we have so much fun. And they still talk about that wedding and they remember the joy and exuberance and they just were, we had so much fun. And so I loved this piece of advice.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good one. What's another one that you liked, Mindy?
Okay. Treat your body like a house you have to live in for another 70 years.
Which is hard to, when you're 20, you don't really think about that much. Even in your 30s, like I remember when that Tim McGraw song came out, Live Like You Were Dying or something. And he says something about how he's going to eat more salads. And I think in the song, he's like approaching 40. And it's like, yeah, about that time you do start thinking, okay.
Well, and I love the perspective. It's not like you could, not take care of yourself and still live a long time.
Well, true.
But not be happy with the body you're in because then you can't enjoy life. So I like the perspective. It's you may live a long time, but not be able to move.
I mean, seeing your physical house, your body as an investment. And, I want this thing to work for me. And so this is something I've paid a lot of attention to in workout classes is I go to classes that 70-year-old women attend. And I have loved, I think that's been the best marker for me is looking at women that are ahead in the years and what do they do? And being close to them, getting to know them, because those are incredible people and they're living, their grandmas, their great grandmas, they, and they are living. I truly love being at classes and rubbing shoulders with women that are older and learning how to have that type of active lifestyle. Cause that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
One that I liked too was never let a good friendship atrophy. Make the call, send the text, or plan the trip. And just in our regret podcast, I told you that I wasn't very good at just keeping up with people, maybe from way, way back, like my husband is. And, I mentioned that we were driving in Memphis and John said, why don't let's just pull in and knock on the door. And now we've learned from our next door episode that you don't knock on people's doors but, for multiple reasons.
They're hiding.
But I kind of had a friend in mind when I was telling that story. And you will not believe, I got a message on Facebook that week. And she said, hey, what's your address? I'm coming to see you.
Oh.
I have not seen her since my wedding.
That's cool.
And we met when we were 2 and 3 years old. We were neighbors. And like you said, Marie, it would be intimidating to initiate that. But of course I said yes, yes, I think that would be the most fun thing ever. So I'm glad that she made the call, sent the text.
Yeah. And you were primed and ready to say yes.
Yes, I was.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Here's one that I think we tend to do, but it's good to hear it out loud and remember that we shouldn't do it. Don't fear sadness, as it tends to sit right next to love. It was saying underneath that this is part of the fundamental balance and tension of life. The joy of love comes in the same package as the pain of loss. And I think in midlife, we really start to, well, of course, every stage we see this, but in midlife, you let your kids go, you move through a new stage. If you don't love something, it's not going to hurt when it's gone, but you wouldn't not have wanted to have those things. And I was even thinking about my little granddaughter. She was born almost 3 years ago already, which doesn't sound that old. But when we think back 3 years, like how she has changed, she's a completely different person than she was 3 years ago, and she'll be another completely different person in 3 years. And it's hard to say goodbye to each one of those stages, but yet you wouldn't ever want to miss out. So, really it is true that sadness does sit right next to love.
That bittersweetness.
Yes. Oh, it is. And the older we get, the more those moments come so fast, like with so many things.
I feel like as a 90-year-old, will I just be sitting in my rocking chair saying, bittersweet, bittersweet. Will there be anything that's not bittersweet when I'm 90?
I know.
Is there anything just pure sweet?
Right. Let's go there.
I guess that'll be the chocolate you're eating.
I guess.
Oh my goodness. Well, here's one that we can all relate with. The good old days are always happening right now. And don't you feel that? I mean, I tell myself that more and more. And I wonder if we're those old ladies rocking in the chairs thinking like these are the good old days still. But I mean, I just turned 44 and I feel like pay attention. Like, this is it. Don't miss it. Cause I feel like I scooted through life, just trying to get through the next stage, just trying to get past that, or life will be great when I get here. And now I'm like, no, like it's great right now. So everything can just chill.
And these are the days that you'll be talking about when you're 64, Those are the days and the stories and the moments that you'll be remembering.
Yes.
Yeah. I loved this one. It doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. And the main reason I liked it is because I needed to be reminded of it. And I thought this isn't just true for my own self, like that I don't have to be perfect, but it's true about a lot of things. Vacations. They don't have to be perfect to be wonderful. We've had a lot of imperfect vacations. Your house. I always say I love my house when it gets a few dings and scratches. I love it more. Meals. They don't have to be perfect. People, relationships, jobs, our own achievements. We've been talking a lot about this lately, that growth and progress are all good things to celebrate, not perfection.
This was one that I think that kind of goes, there were two that kind of went together. Time doesn't heal anything when it comes to relationships. And then if something has a minor issue, repair it right away. But I also think that about relationships. I think that so many times we know there's something wrong. And we know that we should clear the air. We know we should just go ahead and address it. And it builds in our mind, and it influences your future conversations and your future interactions instead of just addressing it. And I do think that it's good to remind ourselves that probably the conversation will go a lot better than you thought, and you're going to feel so much better if you have it.
Yeah. I liked that one too, Marie. And of course, I understand the relationship aspect, but I even took it to be like when things are broken and have like minor problems. Like my husband will fix things at the first sign of disrepair or malfunction. And I just stick my head in the sand thinking, it's probably going to go away. It's going to get better. I don't know why I would ever think that, but that's what I think. And, he would get into my car and say, how long has it been making this noise? And, I think I just turn the radio up if I hear a noise,
Right. Right.
So that is true for actual physical things as well. Minor issues become major.
From
It's
having
true.
spent so much time with John over the years, I immediately thought of him when I said when I read if something is a minor issue. I thought John would 100% agree with that.
There is no issue too minor to not fix.
And see, it's so funny because I'm a do it now. And Bryce is like, okay, let's plan for the best opportunity to do this. And let's make sure we have all the exact right tools and do it like when it fits. And I'm like, do it now. You just want me to like throw away my plan for the day? Yeah.
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 He'll get it fixed, just never on my timetable.
Right.
Funny.
Right. Here's one just ready-made for the three of us because we're always telling ourselves to do this more and not feel guilty about it. And here a 90-year-old is saying, find things that make your eyes light up, do more of those. He or she is giving us permission to do that. It says the best of life is lived with the people and things that make your eyes twinkle. Prioritize them. So it's not self-indulgent. It is good advice.
Wow. Eyes twinkling. That's a good
eyes.
description.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need a list of what make our eyes twinkle.
Right. We do.
I'm going to have to think about that.
I need to think about that. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, I do have one. And this was, oh my gosh, this is so deep. But I'll go ahead and just read it. The most damning lie you can tell is the lie you tell to yourself. And the more I pondered this, the more I realized how deep it really could go, because I think it's easy to tell ourselves we're unworthy of love. We're unable to be forgiven. We tell ourselves we're never going to make it. Like that's just who you are. That you can't be that person because that's not you. That's just how I've always been. Or we just tell ourselves that we're being wronged. Or we tell ourselves stories about why people maybe look at us a certain way or treat us a certain way. And I think that this can be so damaging to not believe a lie, to be perfectly honest, you know, and you don't know what other people are thinking. But at the same time, I think what you tell yourself is so important that unfortunately we believe lies just way too easy, and it can just rob you of years of happiness.
True.
Yeah. It's easy to recognize when you think other people are lying to themselves. It's not as easy when you're lying to yourself. It's a good friend sometimes can call you out on that, or a spouse, or, you know, an adult child. You know, somebody can call you out on that.
Teenager, you know.
Yeah. I loved this one. When you're worried about something, ask yourself, will it bother me in 1 month, 1 year, you know, whatever the time frame is. But I had a mentor 25 years ago who used to always say that, you know, is this going to be a big deal? Even next week. Sometimes the time frame is way shorter than you even think, you know, like, and that just really, I find myself asking myself that a lot now to gain perspective when you're kind of caught up with emotions, you know, like this is not, nobody's going to care about this next week, next month, you know.
Here's one that I can't help but wonder, am I the only one that looks at this piece of advice? And I mean, there's been songs written about this, and I'm always like, really? Like, I can't follow that. If it's raining on a warm summer evening, go outside and dance in it. And then it said, you won't remember the muddy clothes and ruined shoes. You'll only remember the laughter and joy. I get zero laughter or joy from getting wet outside. I do not find that fun. Like, and you know, that song, you know, I love pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. I hate getting caught in the rain.
And I don't like pina coladas.
And I'm just wondering, do that many people like getting wet and muddy in the rain?
I think they're having to write these pieces of advice to make people get out in the rain, because
maybe
I don't think anybody likes it.
Toddlers like to get muddy and wet, and then you get to clean them up.
There has never been one time in the history of raising kids or in the history of our marriage where we have looked outside and said, let's get out there and run around in the rain. Never.
All right, challenge. If one of us does that, please take pictures unless posts.
I mean, I won't, so don't hold your breath.
Not me.
You always hear like if you're in Paris and it's raining, like that's even more romantic. And I think, I've paid all this money to see Paris. I want to see it in the sunshine.
I know.
Yes.
I don't want it to rain. Like people are like, oh, it's good luck to rain on your wedding day. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's never good to have it rain.
That's one of those lies you're believing.
Well, that's true.
The only rain that's good is when you make it rain. You know what I'm saying? A little do-re-mi.
Yes. Okay, so I don't know who wrote that advice, but I'm saying no.
We're not buying it.
And I will not sit in my rocking chair when I'm 90 and regret that I did not get out in the rain.
No. It'll just make your arthritic knees worse.
That's right. All right, I do have one. And this has been a personal rule for a very long time of mine. It's whenever you hug someone, make sure they are the one to let go first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say the caveat, as long as it's not somebody creepy, okay?
Okay.
Then you just let them, don't even hug them. All right. But if this is a loved one.
Uh-huh. Why are you hugging creepy people?
I mean, just don't. If you're in a position and it feels creepy, don't hug them. All right. Okay. I just felt like I had to say
do like
that.
a little side hug.
Side hug, little tap, tap, tap. Okay.
Okay. I did see this one gathered the most comments because everybody said, what if both of you believe that? Are you going to be in this perpetual hug?
Somebody always calls it first because I have been in that position.
Yeah. Yeah. I will just say I did not grow up a hugger. Like, I don't know if it was I don't know if a lot of people in the North hug. I've been down here so long, I can't remember exactly, but like, I never really experienced so many hugs until I moved to the South. Okay. But I'll tell you that I'm glad it's tradition. And I know sometimes my adult kids are like, oh, why did we have to hug before we leave? But you guys are my babies. I never get to hug you. I at least want to hug you when you're leaving. Like, you don't understand the parent perspective. And so I'm glad it's a tradition down here because I can couch it in that.
Gives you a pass. Yeah.
Yes.
I have one that's a big hugger, my middle child. And then David is not, but he knows now, like, he'll actually come over and hug me. He knows he's not getting out the door.
Oh,
especially now that he doesn't live here. He just knows, okay, this is what I need to do.
Well, and hey, for the boy that's living on their own, it's a great opportunity for a little sniff test because you can make sure they're taking care of themselves. But this is something that I think with my children that are still at home, it's especially important. Like, they're big. Like, my boys are tall. They're both 6'2" and growing. Mm-hmm. And I just think, like, my head is on their chest now, but they're still going to get bigger and they're never going to be this little. And I'm taking it all in, these man children that are running around my house.
Mm-hmm. I liked taking no risk is the biggest risk you can take. I like this. It's hard for me to follow because I'm really not a risk taker, but I like this piece of advice. But I will share one risk that I'm planning to take this summer that just came about this week. So my brother camps every summer for a month around the country. He and his wife are teachers. They take their kids. Last year, we met them in Glacier. This year, one of his stops is Yosemite, and I wanted to go. Of course, we start making plans in January. And really, if you want to go in July, you should have been making plans 6 months ago if you wanted accommodations. Okay. So when we were looking, of course, Mark's planning on camping, but it's very hard to get a spot. So he doesn't know if he's going to be able to get one. Like, the openings for those are in February. But in the meantime, the only thing that was open within reason for us were these, they're tents with wood floors and rafters, but they're just canvas walls, no bathroom. Not sure. Yurt? No, it's not a yurt. Not sure if they have plugs. There's mixed information on the internet. They do have one light bulb in the ceiling. Community bathrooms. You're like 400 in a little village. And it's just so not the way that I usually do things. Free. But I am doing it, you guys, because I want to see Yosemite. I know I will not go if my brother does not plan it. So we booked those this week. And so for 5 nights, I will sleep in this kind of situation. And it's a risk because I might get there and get 0 sleep. It might, rain. I don't know. Like, I might not like it, but I'm doing it, you guys. I'm doing it.
That's awesome. Way to go, Marie.
Very
We will
much
talk
outside
you
of my
into it
comfort zone.
the night before when you're clinging like to your house.
Yeah,
I'm not going.
We will kick you out the door.
Plus, like, we're flying out there, and so we can only bring what we can fit in our suitcase. So, like, it's just
No blankets, pillows.
they supposedly provide them. So I don't know, but I'm going to do it because if I say no, then I'm not going to have this great experience.
Yes. Say yes to life.
Yes.
I love it.
Well,
That's
that leads
scary,
into
though.
my next one, which is travel as much as you can.
Ooh.
Okay.
And I would say if that's something you love, I know that is not for that advice
Mhm.
wouldn't be for everyone, but I'm just so thankful that we took our kids a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mhm.
travel helps you see that people everywhere basically have the same desires and wants and
Mhm.
needs, that
Mhm.
it brings out how we're in common, what we have in common. It
Mhm.
makes you less afraid of people. I think it
Mhm.
creates curiosity and you're more accepting of differences.
Mhm.
When you've been with real people that live differently than you do,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of expands your world and it definitely expands your kids' world. So I have no regrets
Mm-hmm.
as we get older about that. And I especially am grateful now that we did it when we did because of all the memories that we have. And Marie, we spent our 25th wedding anniversary in Yosemite.
You did?
So
Was it
yes.
just you and John or with your
Nope,
kids?
it was all of us.
Okay.
Wow.
And is it worth
we've been-
camping? Am I going to regret it?
Well, I don't know about that because we did not camp.
Okay.
I'm not a big camper. But yes,
like, I was in a
the
hotel.
scenery should surpass any difficulties you have with camping.
Okay.
It's going to be great. And when it rains, get outside
Right.
and
Yes.
play.
That's your chance, Marie. You'll already be wet.
Oh my goodness. Well, Julie, that piece of advice, travel as much as you can, that was also followed by collect one token from every trip to remember it by.
Oh,
And
God.
I have tried to do this over the years. Like, I've collected a lot of Christmas ornaments from places I've been. Yeah, I've collected things from some thrift stores. We've talked about that before. I used to be really into oil painting, so I would usually take a picture that I really loved and then paint that when I got back. But like, I love to have something more than just a mug or a
Right.
magnet, like something that I can incorporate like into my home
Yeah.
about a trip, and it just brings back those memories.
Yeah, I've just done our whole bonus room upstairs and not redecorated it, but just trying to find ways to concentrate like all of our things we've gotten on trips into one place.
Mhm.
And, it's patches that I've sewn on blankets and pillows and photographs and posters. And I do try to buy a souvenir that reminds me of the trip, something useful,
Mm-hmm.
not just another mug or t-shirt.
Though I do love mugs, as I'm sitting here drinking out of my Cancun mug, and this morning I had London, and
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're
I
someone
love
that collects mugs, I think that's awesome.
I
once
love
you
them.
have a cabinet full, there's not a whole lot else you can do, though.
Right.
But I
Mhm.
do love those trip mementos and the traveling, and that's something that I want to do more and more of. Like, once you take a trip and you go see something new and unfamiliar, it like you just get hungry for the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
So here's one. When in doubt, love, we can always use more love.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about this, like, even if you feel wronged or taken advantage of, or that you don't have time, I think about people that rescue dogs, and they'll put this dirty dog in their car, which I don't understand because that's not me.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, they're loving, that is a
Mhm.
loving gesture, to give
Mhm.
of yourself, sacrifice of yourself. And you never regret loving more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that so often we give ourselves reasons we don't have to love, but maybe just, shoo those to the side,
Mm-hmm.
because especially when you think about the rule, what Julie said earlier about, will this matter to me in 10 years? I think that was the thing, that perspective. You're going to remember if you're ugly to somebody or if you've made excuses to be ugly to somebody, but I think the problems easily kind of go away. If you can just love, it can really change that relationship, change situations for the better.
Yeah. And it has to be a choice at that point. It may not be a feeling,
Yeah.
Yeah. This one kind of goes along with that. You may win the argument, but if you lose the friend, what was the point?
Oh.
And as somebody who likes to argue sometimes just for the sake of arguing, like just because we want to hash out, I mean, our family kind of likes to debate, whatever. But in the end, if it is a true argument and you win, but the person never wants to speak to you again, I mean, that's not...
You have lost.
Right, right. Because there was one earlier that I kind of gave it the side eye because... I don't know. I don't know if I really agree with it. It says, if you're going to lose a fight, make sure the other person thinks twice before fighting you again. I didn't really like that one.
No, I didn't either. I was like, I don't think so.
They had another one similar that said, no one has ever argued their way to happiness. So basically, I think pick and choose your arguments, and, there should be very few hills that you die on.
Yeah.
Right. It's true.
What did you think about this one? Give everybody a second chance, but never a third. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but I can see that maybe don't be a doormat. Don't let somebody run over you. I get that, but
I think it's strong to say never a third, but I think most people, we'll give you a second chance. But honestly, if they do it again, you probably need to really think. Yeah.
And it depends on the relationship. Like, is this an employee? Is this an employer?
True.
Is this a family member, friend?
Yes.
Landscaper?
Right.
No.
You trimmed those bushes short one too many times.
Yep. Nope.
This is one that I remember my grandmother saying. She would say this: looking presentable is a matter of self-respect. And I remember her saying, like, you really shouldn't. She said, you should always sleep in a nice nightgown. I always felt weird, my grandmother telling me that. But don't just go to bed in sweatpants and, walk around the house that way all day. And, and this is back when she probably put on a dress every day.
Yeah.
So if she could see me now.
In your Fiore joggers.
Yes. God bless her. They didn't have joggers back then.
Oh, no.
But
I
get what she's saying. It doesn't have to be what you're wearing, but just, like if there are other people seeing you, look presentable. And I've told you before, my pet peeve is people showing up at the hotel breakfast in their pajamas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Without their hair combed or their teeth brushed. That just grosses me out.
Yeah.
I certainly know I face the day better, and I act better when I feel better about myself.
Yeah.
And I feel better when I have brushed my teeth.
Yes.
Combed my hair.
Yeah. This is one that's hard for us. I'm so thankful that my kids are almost grown, because now I can say this piece of advice and I'm not so much on the hook to follow it, but it's really hard when you're raising your kids. Allow your kids to fail. You will hate it, but it's so important. And it really is so important, and it really is so hard. And so I feel for all the parents that are trying to make those decisions on, is this an opportunity for them to fail and learn something, or should I bail them out? I just remember you go back and forth in your mind so many times over the years.
That's definitely one of those Monday morning quarterback kind of things to say, like it's so much easier to say afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes my hands have to be completely tied for me to not step in. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it was probably good that I couldn't because this has been better for them. But I mean, sometimes if we're able, it's, of course you want to save your kid,
Yeah. It's very hard. I think one of the things to do, like I have to watch my daughter do this now. Like, I guess start when they're young. Sometimes the 3-year-old has to fail. Sometimes the 3-year-old, And so if you start when you're young and build your muscle in that within reason, maybe later it's a little bit easier. But yeah, I just know that's one of those parenting things that I don't wish to repeat, is all those mental gymnastics on whether this is a time to do it or not.
Well, I keep hearing it's different. Like when you're the grandparent, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, you don't have to let them fail.
Oh, yeah. So I totally love that. Like my parents will give my kids money where I would have been like, you need to save that up. And I'm like, but I love it. They are the grandparents. They should do that. And I can't wait till I get to do that. And I'm out of the should I let my kid fail stage.
Yes. You're so close, Mindy. I mean, you've only got like 8 more years.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I still have like 3 or 4 more years of it. So, but there's some light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like until they're done with college, you still are doing that mental gymnastics. Because they still call you with problems in college too.
It's different. Yeah. I agree.
I liked this one. It said, no amount of money is ever worth trading for your peace of mind. And as I'm trying to decide what to do with the rest of my life, I'm reminded of this every time I go to the pharmacy.
Oh, what do you mean?
Because you hate it.
When I think I should be a pharmacist again. And then I look in that window and see what she's going through. Phone on one ear, a bunch of people yelling at her, a big long line at the drive-thru and in the store, and no one's happy. Then I think, no amount of money.
Good.
No amount of money is worth that.
That's good, Julie. Wow.
I am just thinking about that right now, Julie, because at this point in your life, like I've heard you complain about the pharmacist on the regular. Yeah. And to think that you would even think about being a pharmacist.
Well, it's like I could make a lot of money.
Yeah. Right. But no amount of money is worth your peace of mind.
Just not worth it.
Yeah. Like I just had a run in the other day and
Oh no. Oh no, good. Well, here's one I actually don't necessarily agree with.
Okay.
Never raise your voice except for at a ball game.
Yes. This person forgot what it was like to raise kids.
Listen, boys don't hear you unless you're at a certain decibel.
Right. Yes.
Even if it's to tell them you love them. You're not like, I'm not yelling mean things, but sometimes I have to yell.
Yeah. When you have a bunch of kids, no one's doing anything until mom has raised her voice. I mean, probably 75% of the time. They're still sitting there engrossed in what they're doing. Like, mom is probably going to raise her voice. Don't beat yourself up on not following this piece of advice.
Yeah. Well, I yell like once a day, but it's not that I'm upset. It's that the boys are upstairs and can't hear me. Yeah. Or they're downstairs and I don't know where they are. Yeah. So I'm just like randomly yelling, Jacob, Nathan.
Right.
Hello.
The yelling gets less the older your kids get.
And then Bryce.
Or you have to yell at your dog then.
So. Oh, do you? Okay.
Oh, Charlie, get up and walk. We need to finish this walk.
Quit eating that pot holder.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you can't say that nicely. He's just going to keep right along chomping it. All right, well, here's one. Laugh loudly and unapologetically whenever you feel like it. And last night, someone sent me this little video that went along with our Next Door podcast. And it was basically this comedian who had done this, I don't know what you call them, little riff, or what do they call them? Little set on,
like a little set
on what happens when people used to come to the door and what happens when people come to the door now. Because we were talking about how on Next Door, people act like when the doorbell rings, the person on the other side is there to kill them. And it was so funny. And I laughed so hard. And then I sent that to Julie and Mindy. And then I sent it to Abigail. And she was like flabbergasted that anyone used to ever open their door. She's like, Mom, you used to open your door? What was it like? And I told her about sometimes where one time I had been in my pajamas and the kids were little and someone had come visiting from a church we had visited. And they came in and I had my pajamas in robot. And Abigail was just flabbergasted that this ever occurred in society. But we had so much fun laughing over that video. And so, yes, sometimes a good laugh, you just remember it for like, I'm still talking about it today.
Yeah. That video was hysterical.
It was. I was like spitting on myself. I was like, I busted out laughing. And Bryce is like, you must be watching something funny. I'm like, I will share this with you because it's hilarious. But listen, okay, But I do have to say that sometimes I do love laughing and I laugh quite easily. But sometimes it strikes me at inopportune moments.
Oh,
like in the middle of church.
Or when somebody trips.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah. So I have a hard time refraining.
Yeah, no, I know. Sometimes it is, yeah.
Oh, so then I'm just like troublemaker.
Someone's telling me a story, like Julie. You would be telling me a story about your pharmacy experience, which I'm sure was so frustrating in the moment. And yet I can't help it. I have to start laughing because it's just so comical. It's so comically
so
bad.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so bad that it's comical.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Oh my goodness.
Our family, each and every one of us love cats. And if you start following cat videos, then you will be inundated with cat videos. So each day we all send each other a cat video. And y'all, they just make you laugh out loud. You can watch them over and over and over. It's so funny.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness.
Laughter is good medicine.
Yes,
it definitely is.
Here's one we didn't talk about. I'm not sure if this is telling or not, but do one good deed every single day, but never tell anyone about it.
I guess we're done talking.
Okay. What are friends for anyway if you can't tell them stuff?
I know.
Maybe it's the attitude behind it.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
I definitely think it's the attitude, but I did give that one the side eye.
Too busy laughing at people that fall down. No.
This one, number 10, always remind yourself that your track record for making it through bad days is perfect. I mean, I guess that's true, but that wasn't a comforting piece of advice for me.
It sounded like a poster on Sue Heck's wall.
Yeah.
From the middle.
Yeah, I didn't really like the way it was worded. I didn't like the perfect part because it's not. But there are days where I have to say that I'm feeling really bad, really low about the situation I'm in. And I'll say, okay, I'm breathing. I'm in a warm house. I'm comfortable. I'm actually happy right now. Like John and I are enjoying our time together. I have to just get back to the very basics and talk yourself through it. And it's like, okay, like I'm going to make it through today.
I tell myself this at every birthday. Getting old is no picnic, but it's much better than the alternative. So I always remember the card Julie gave me on my 40th birthday. In 5 years, you'll wish you were turning 40. And I think about that every birthday. And it's so true.
Hilarious. I do see it as a gift. Like you see more wrinkles and your skin sags, and some other women that have gone before me tell me like, enjoy it now, because every 10 years something else falls down. and I'm like, that's lovely. But I do see it as a gift. And I truly actually love seeing Bryce get a little bit of white in his red beard.
Okay. That
actually brings me joy.
Okay.
Because I'm like, we're growing old. And this is good. You go first.
Right.
Yeah.
He's older, so he'll get there first.
Yeah, that's right.
Here's one. What did you guys have thoughts on this? You may occasionally disappoint others, but make sure to never disappoint yourself. I mean, I don't know. I have disappointed myself. I don't know if I can make sure to never do that again.
That sounded a little self-centered to me, self-focused. Yeah. I don't know what they mean by disappoint. Like always just do what makes you happy, follow your heart.
Well, I also don't think it's really realistic. Sure. Like you're going to continue to disappoint yourself, but hopefully that's the grounds at which you change and do something different. But I don't know. I get more upset when I disappoint other people, though I know it can be more damaging when I disappoint myself. Like if I let myself down of something that's, really important.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, did you guys try this one? When you're feeling down, smile at yourself in the mirror for 1 full minute. I meant to try that before we recorded. I don't know if I can do it. I'd probably start laughing at myself.
Yeah.
I have a funny story about this.
You do, Mindy?
I do. And it's embarrassing, which makes it even better.
Oh, we'll definitely tell it then.
Okay. When I was little, and this immediately came to mind when I read it the first time, and also when you just said that. When I was little, my mother gifted me with a vanity, one of those like old plastic. It was a trifold and it had the lights all. I thought it was the best thing in the world. And it was late at night and I was probably 10 or 11 and everyone had gone to bed and I have my vanity plugged in and I'm making faces at myself in it, like just random, look like big mouth, teeth, tongue, eyes. I'm making faces. Well, I make a scary face and I get scared.
Oh, you have to shut off the lights real quick.
No, I go and wake up my dad.
Oh,
I literally scared myself making faces at myself in the mirror and had to wake up my dad and make him go check the house.
Oh, my.
Don't do it, y'all. Just don't do it.
Don't smile at yourself for 1 minute in the mirror.
It's probably kind of spooky in the dark with those lights on.
It was scary.
Yeah.
Number 30 says, stop trying to change people who don't want to be changed. And I thought, well, that kind of goes back to the good advice of you can only really change yourself.
Oh, yeah. That is good advice. Stubborn pride is the downfall of many men and women. Again, good advice that we all know.
Yeah.
Need to be reminded of.
Oh, I like to do one thing that challenges your mind every single day.
Oh, okay.
A crossword puzzle, math problem, anything. Daily exercise will keep your mind sharp for the long haul. And I've heard this, a healthy mind is a healthy body. And practicing, learning something new. We've joked before about all the time that we lose like scrolling on our phones. And I've joked like I could have actually learned something. And I always think that. So this past week I was sick and Bryce teased me because during one of my energetic moments, I knew I was going to have days at home. And I went and raided our library and put stacks of books on our table next to the couch. I never opened one of them.
No,
but I really had a great.
But they looked good.
Yeah, it did. I had poetry. I had grit. I had 7 like highly effective.
Oh, habits of highly effective people.
Habits of highly effective people. Yeah, see, I learned everything that I needed to. So just reading titles helped me out there. But no. In all.
Okay, Mindy, this might fall under don't lie to yourself. Have you ever in your entire life opened up a book of poetry and read it to yourself?
Yes.
Oh, you have?
She did.
Okay.
You
Maybe
it
twice.
Before?
Once or twice.
Okay. I hate poetry.
Oh, I like funny poetry. Shel Silverstein.
Okay.
It's good. It's good. It's really good. It's hilarious.
I thought about this one when you mentioned the doing something challenging and it mentioned math. This past week, I was asked to help make an escape game at our church for like 5th and 6th grade. And all I was doing is like putting up the room, decorating it. But another very smart person had come up with the puzzles and the codes.
Oh,
and they wanted me to kind of look at it to see. I thought this was funny. Julie, you look at it to see if a 5th grader could do it. And there were some math problems. And I said, I really think the kids are going to get stumped with these math problems. They just seem a little bit hard. And this lady goes, well, I had my 3rd grader do it and she got them.
Oh my goodness.
Julie.
Yeah, there were square root and adding fractions with unlike denominators. And her 3rd grader.
Well, I think
racking my brain.
I think it's 3rd grade right now. I think my kids were in 3rd grade when we got a letter home basically saying we don't expect parents to help with math anymore. It was like the new math and like this is the way we do it at school and basically like refer back to us. So obviously our generation can't even do 3rd grade math anymore.
I just felt so bad. Like I know I could do it, but I'd need pencil and paper and some time.
Yes.
I would need someone to refresh my memory.
He was like, what was the rule for the...
Yeah. And these kids are supposed to just do it in the dark, in 30 seconds.
Well, maybe we should be doing an escape room a month when we get to be our age.
I know.
Yeah, do more escape rooms.
Oh, I'm terrible at escape rooms. All right, listeners. Well, obviously, there are a lot of good pieces of advice here. And I encourage you, I'll put a link to this viral post in our show notes. I encourage you to go and read it for yourself. Let us know what you think of it. You can find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
I am a fan of a book I did pop open this past week and learned something new. In my health journey, I'm always trying to refresh my mind with just learning how to stay healthy as I age. And I fell in love with the author, Julie Gordon. We did her Happy School book and we interviewed her on this podcast. So I decided to read her Skinny School book. Oh. And I know she joked about the name Skinny being, kind of a faux pas. But I have loved the book. I read it in 2 days and I wrote down just some highlights because there were some things that I didn't feel like I had to learn from the beginning. Like I'd learned them over time already, but there were some really helpful hints. There was like just almost having a plan and the psychology behind losing weight, but also just being healthy. So, and then the fun story that goes along with it. I got to the point where I was skipping the genie talks and just trying to read the story. I was so excited to see how it ended.
Oh, that's good. Well, we'll put a link to that in our show notes for anybody that wants to pick that up.
Yeah. Her books are fun.
Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
All right, I'm a fan of a pair of shoes that I bought off Amazon. I don't normally buy clothing on Amazon, but a couple of months ago, I had been shopping in downtown Franklin with a friend and her friend, and these people are shoppers. I mean, over the top. Okay. And they took me in this shoe store, and they're like, "Julie, you've got to get a pair of these shoes." Well, every pair was $250 and up.
Oh wow!
The shoes. Ooh. So I'm like, guys, you don't know me. I do not spend this on shoes. And they're like, life's too short. You need to buy these shoes, So I'm scrolling through Amazon and I find some lookalikes.
Really?
And my shoes are only $38.
Okay.
Yes. She's probably dying. I'll have to show her these, but they are women's leather platform slip-on loafers. So they're blue leather. They look like a loafer on top, but they have the really, really thick platform sole. And it's kind of the wavy, bottom. And so I think they look pretty stylish. So
did you get have you worn them? Sorry, I'm so excited about the shoes, Maria.
I haven't worn them out because it's been cold and rainy,
But are they comfortable?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Now tell us what they're a dupe for.
Well, these shoes that I saw in Franklin that are...
What's the brand of the shoe you saw in Franklin?
Oh, I don't know. It's nothing I've ever heard of.
Oh, okay. Because I wanted to know, if you want to get these shoes, you can get these shoes instead.
They're all like handmade Italian leather shoes in Franklin.
Okay. So
seriously, $200 to $300 a pair. So I just know I'm never going to do that.
Right.
Right.
No matter how comfy and cute they are.
Well, and that's kind of a fashion item that will go out of style. That look like it's super awesome now, but how long is it going to last? I think a couple of years.
Well, I'll send you this, Mindy, and you can see.
I can't wait.
Now they show a bunch of different ones, and they have ones that have lace ups. I do not like those. Mine are the slip on, so I'll try. Hopefully, it'll show you the exact one that I got.
Thank you.
Well, we'll definitely put a link for those in the show notes. All right. I can't help but be a fan this week of the comedian that I was talking about with the laughter is the best medicine. So his name is Sebastian Maniscalco. And of course, I'm late to the game, so probably a lot of people have already heard of him. He has 5 Netflix specials that I found on Netflix. Oh. But the one that had the set about the next door neighbor was in one that's called Sebastian Maniscalco, What's Wrong with People? And it was made in 2012, and it's an hour and 15 minutes on Netflix. And Steve and I watched it last night, and we laughed so hard. Oh. I mean, the kind of laughter where no sound comes out because you're just laughing so hard. And so many times I've tried to watch comedians, and they're so raunchy that I can't get through them. Yeah. This guy, he does use some language, but it's not, I don't feel like he's just like a raunchy comedian. And the stuff that he makes fun of is so funny. I would totally recommend you watch that. The only one of his specials that I've watched is the What's Wrong with People, but I am going to try and watch the other ones. And so if you have Netflix, I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes. And if you want a good laugh, I think it would be funny.
Now, is ringing the
Excellent.
doorbell in that one?
Yes.
Is it in? It is. Okay.
Yes, that little clip I sent you was taken from that
Okay.
special. So,
Thank
he
you.
has
Oh,
one
so
in
funny.
there about a woman in a Subway shop. I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard.
Oh, I cannot wait. This is so good.
So,
Thank
yes,
you.
it's
I
just very
love
funny.
a good comedian like Brian
Yeah.
Regan. I used to
Yeah.
say, we've seen him live 3 times, that I would have to take Advil for my jaws hurting
Oh,
after the show because, you were laughing so hard. That just
Oh.
feels good to laugh that
Yeah.
hard.
it does.
Yeah.
It
So,
really does.
anyways, I thought it was funny.
That is awesome. Thank you.
All right, listeners, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you're going to follow some of this advice. I know that we needed to be reminded of this, and I'm so glad we were able to talk about it together.
It
Me
was
too.
fun.
This was really good.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
girls.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.